The Financial Survival Network, helping you survive and thrive in the new economy. Go to CarrieLutz.com and sign up for 30 free micro trainings on financial survival.
1490 WGCH. This is Carrie Lutz, and you're listening to the Financial Survival Network, which is brought to you by Miles Franklin. They've been in business selling gold and silver for over 20 years, and I'm a customer because when you buy, they ship. For more information, find them on the web at milesfranklin.com or give them a call at 800-822-8080 and get a free quote. Ranting Andy is back talking about nationalism, what it means for Europe, what it means for the United States, and where all this is heading. Hey, Andy, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yourself?
Doing okay. Doing okay. Watching the metals prices. Nothing to see here. Just move along. Watching Facebook and that whole farce. And what was your take on Facebook?
Well, actually, today's piece, which will be out in a few hours, is called Facebook Fiasco. And it had nothing to do with the stock being priced and, and falling like it has here. It simply had to do with all the attention that's being put on this incredibly overpriced stock. And again, I'm not an expert on social media valuations, but in this day and age, for Wall Street to be pricing anything at 100 times forward earnings, let alone in a business that you could see from their own numbers, it's been slowing down over the last few quarters, shows how much corruption there is in this business and how this even got priced here. I don't know. But then sure enough, here we are a day later and the stock is massively broke below its offering price. And I've been in Wall Street for 20 years. I've never, ever seen a high profile IPO even break its IPO price, let alone break it by this much. And it just, once again, it shows that even the criminals in charge of Wall Street, this is Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, they don't even know how to price an IPO anymore. And it's just really sad. There's going to be a lot of lawsuits over this and just more distrust of Wall Street.
Who would buy this stuff is my question. I mean, I'm looking at the stock right now. It's the Monday, was it May 21st? And we're looking at Facebook trading at 34.65, which is 335 below the IPO price. So the syndicates failed because there's no underlying retail demand for this stock because everybody's suspicious of everything that Wall Street does. And if you have money, do you trust it with these guys that brought you subprime, that brought you the mortgage meltdown, and have been bailed out umpteen times since the 2008 crash that we don't even know about? Every day of existence for these too big to fails is a day where they're bailed out in one way or the other. So why would you buy Facebook? Yeah,
and the other part of it is, which I was writing more about, not so much about the specifics of this deal, was that you still have, there's been such a great propaganda scheme over the years that people still are looking for a hot stock. I mean, the retail public has been out of the stock market for 12 years now. They've been out since they lost their shirts in 2000. And they may have even briefly dipped back in with some of their ill-begotten real estate gains, which are all gone. But the fact is, there's so much attention on Apple with its $500 billion market cap and Google with its $500 billion market cap that people are just, there's so much hype about this Facebook. But the fact is, Apple and Google actually make money. Facebook makes very little money. And to me, it's so sad that the public is chasing an incredibly, incredibly overpriced stock when they could be protecting themselves with gold and silver.
Yeah. I mean, I've never understood the point of Facebook. I'm on it. Stuff gets posted there from the blog continually throughout the day. My kids like to look at each other's pictures, but I've never been able to figure this thing out. What is the allure of it? What makes it so wonderful? And
well, I think it serves a nice social function. I mean, people communicate over it. I don't really use it. I mean, I have an account. I don't use it, though. And it's nice for some of the things you can do. And yes, they do get advertising revenues in some way, shape, or form. I'm not sure how. I've even heard that they may even be starting to charge people for certain services. But, that's fine. I mean, that's well and good. Google did the same thing and they made money doing it. But when it comes to what Facebook is doing, you're talking about a company that's already so saturated in the world that its growth is already slowing dramatically, the amount of new accounts it gets. And it's being priced as if we're in 2000. Not that it can't grow into it. There's always the potential. But there's a potential of a lot of things coming from very small to very large. And this stock is already priced as if it's going to take over the world. And, good luck to it. But the fact that so much attention is being placed on it just shows you how the mainstream media and the whole propaganda machine works to divert people's attention from protecting themselves. Even people who know better, they should be protecting themselves because their worlds are already in a world of crap.
Yeah, but you know what they say, hope springs eternal, and you're only one deal away from being solvent again, right?
Yeah, just double or nothing, right?
Well, that's what the Fed does every day of the week, right? I mean, they double down on a losing hand. That's what the big banks do. Mm-hmm. That's what we've been trained to do. And, if you think people don't double down, go to China, man, watch them in a casino, because you've never seen, and I don't want to make generalizations because that's not fair, but I'm telling you, you have never seen people gamble the way they do there. I mean, like if they think they're lucky that day, are you feeling lucky today? Well, hey, if you're feeling lucky, have I got a game for you? And that's what happens.
Yeah, they're famous for their gambling, and look at their stock market, by the way. It collapsed years ago, and people have lost their shirts. And guess what? Their real estate bubble was collapsing, and they lost their shirts there. People are the same around the world. The only difference is China has a different culture. They've been in this communist, centrally planned world for so many years, whereas we've been in a supposedly capitalistic world. But the fact is, people still make the dumb mistakes. And if Facebook were offered in China, if there was Facebook China, whatever they call it, they'll lose their money in that too.
Oh, you're so spot on, Andy. It's ridiculous. Like you say, people never learn, and it's just human nature. So they're all looking for that quick fix. They're all looking to cash in, and it isn't there. It's not real. And if it works for a while, they're all convinced that they're getting lucky and it's their time. So now moving right along to nationalism. And why is nationalism something that the average American doesn't really grasp the concept of? Why is that important to our existence right now, Ed?
Right. Well, because we have the world's reserve currency, we've benefited from being relatively immune to a lot of the world's problems for a long time. And, even today, when our economy is collapsing, we're able to keep our heads slightly above the rest because of our ability to print our way, down the road a little bit. Whereas, you can't do that in Europe or a lot of other places in the world. But, Europe has got the most amazing history of war and hatred of any area on earth by far. I mean, I'm writing my piece for tomorrow. I mean, to believe that France and Germany, who have been kind of pushing this euro as the leaders for so long, have this love for each other. I mean, they've probably been in 10 major wars over the centuries. And obviously, look, France doesn't even have the ability to support the euro. It's almost comical that they acted like a leader when they are clearly in just as bad shape as everyone else. And, you're seeing in the elections, you saw obviously in the French and the Greek elections in the last week, where the people basically are voting for anti-euro, anti-austerity, and basically anti-European Union. You've also seen local elections in Germany and England last week, which did the same thing. They just violently voted against the current status quo. No one wants anything to do with trying to support others when they can't even support themselves. And, in the case of France, I was writing today about, they don't want to be socialist to the rest of Europe, but meanwhile, they'll do it themselves. And they even just elected someone who's even more socialist than their current president. So the fact is, you're going to see a continual splintering of these nations as the people continue to get upset by all the inflation and the austerity and the debt. And as a result, you go right back to what my globe looked like. You know, I had my globe back from when I was a kid, and Russia was one nation, and then it became 30. And, you know, you're going to see the same thing with the Euro currency union. You're going to see it start to break into pieces. And eventually, when it gets to the United States, we'll have the same thing. I mean, there's just too much. There's too many states that have massively different financial situations and cultures. And, you know, it'll take time, but you'll see a fragmentation of everything. But obviously, Europe is going to be front and center.
Yeah, a little bit scary, but I guess, you know, when you throw in all these different states, different countries with totally different value systems, totally different ways of looking at the world, how does a Germany coexist with a Netherlands? You know, they're totally different. Or a Switzerland, how did they coexist with Greece? It's so much different.
Right. And of course, Switzerland doesn't have to coexist with them because they're right to themselves. And in the case of Germany and the Netherlands, they actually are two of the healthier nations, for whatever that means. I mean, you look at Germany's exposure to French banks, Spanish banks, Italian banks, they're going to be taken down as well. But they're starting from a much higher level. So yes, they and the Netherlands, at least for now, can talk civilly. But to think that Germany and France would have anything in common right now. There's no way on earth that France can be held up. And I'm talking about France because I read an article today about someone who just came back from France, and everyone holds them up as stronger than the others. And they're really not. They are as tied to the anchor as anyone. Their banks have been as profligate as any on earth. And that's why you're seeing the big three French banks are essentially the worst acting stocks on earth right now, because they're all going to go under. And there is no way that the German people who just voted against the Merkel's party in the historic level in the local elections are going to put up with it anymore. They are going to either secede or kick these guys out at some point down the road. And I think down the road is within the next year.
That's amazing. It's amazing that it could get to this, you know? But
well, it was an ill-begotten experiment. I mean, the euro is only 13 years old. It's not like it's hundreds of years. It immediately upon being invented, it was a bad idea. And here we are just barely a decade later, and every nation in Europe is on the verge of collapse as a result of this, just like the gold standard destroyed America, getting off of it. It's this euro which has destroyed Europe.
Yeah, it's just remarkable. Who thought? But like you said, who thought that Russia was just going to vaporize the way that it did? Nobody knew it. And that's what these black swans are all about, because they always come at you when you're least expecting it, when you think everything's stable, and then boom, man, it just hits you squarely in the teeth. And who would have thunk?
Yeah, and we may well get a black swan along the way, some event we haven't seen. But to me, this is just math 101, what's going on in Europe. I mean, Greece is gone. They're as gone as possibly can be. June 17th is when they have their next elections. I think by the end of those elections, it'll be clear that they're not going to be in the euro anymore. And it doesn't matter how much scrambling the euro does. Oh, we'll let you leave, but we'll have a parallel currency, or we'll continue to keep you in the eurozone. No, they are gone. Goodbye. And you're going to see the worst of mankind is going to be in Greece in the next few years, when they sort through their hyperinflation and their all these political parties and neo-Nazis that have come in charge. And then it's going to move up the line. And when it moves up the line to bigger countries, that's what I really fear. What's, the ramifications for the world.
Yeah, well, one thing is that humanity's always in a state of flux. We've always had these disruptions and these bouts of collective insanity, and people die and then say, oh no, never again, we're never going to allow this to occur again. And a couple generations go by, and guess what, we're back to square one, right? Absolutely. I try to write as much as I can about human nature, but it's something I'll never understand. It's like men and women can never quite understand each other, and when you
philosophize about the history of mankind itself, it's just hard to believe that they can continue to do things that are so counter to their, well-being.
Yeah, they're just out and out stupid. I mean, really, when you get down to it, what else can you say about it but that it's stupid? I mean,
yeah,
like my kids, it's like, it's stupid, but that's money what it really comes down to.
Money and power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. So on that note, your only choice, as we've said time and time and time again, is, what is it, And?
It's physical gold and silver.
Yep. There's no other choice. What else can you really do? And I hate to harp on the same topic because we're both, let's face it, we're both involved in the space. We both earn our livings from it one way or the other. But this is a case where, if you want to survive, this is what you have to do. You absolutely have to, because unless you trust politicians, there's a unique concept, huh? Trust
an oxymoron.
Politicians. Yeah. Like, how can you trust any of them after seeing what they've done and the way they've wreaked havoc on the planet here? Now, I'm not an anarchist, you know that, but
and neither am I.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? At some point, anarchy is starting to look pretty good. I mean, the insanity that we see taking place, the total and complete disregard for economic law, and the total refusal to accept human nature. It's just really, like I said, disheartening, but really kind of aggravating as well.
Yes, I understand completely. I write about it all day long, every day. But look, I mean, we are helping people by having these chats and doing our pieces, and the more people that know, the more people that can, get through to the next stage intact.
God, I really hope so, Andy. I really hope so. But, like, there are times when you just wake up and, you're hoping that you were in a dream, like the Twilight Zone, right? Oh, it was all a dream. I was dreaming of global warming. And then she wakes up and the world's freezing, And that's what I feel like. I'm living in the Twilight Zone where no rules apply. It's completely lawless and out of control. And, you have so few choices that in a way it's an easier time to live than ever before, because it's a real simple matter. If you don't want to go down the tubes, if you want to have a fighting shot, all right, make your preparations. We won't get into the extreme prepper thing, but some preparation definitely necessary. Put as much as your wealth as you possibly can into gold and silver, and then just go back into the bunker and just wait for it to be all over, right?
I couldn't say it better myself.
And on that note, Andy, another Monday goes by. We will speak with you again next week, and who knows, maybe there'll be some good news to discuss. Wouldn't that be a great thing, huh?
It would be a rare thing.
Well, hey, keep the faith, brother, and everything in life is temporary. That's what I say.
Right. Okay, thanks very much.
Hey, take it easy.